I just got home just in time to start Becca's Bookopoly. So this vlog is going to be my vlog for this 48-hour readathon. There are going to be 8 prompts, although you don't have to complete them all. And as well, she's only releasing the prompts as we go through the readathon. So we don't know what we're going to be reading yet. I do have a bunch of short reads over on my spare bed in preparation so that hopefully I can fit those into the prompts. But the 2 prompts we have so far, the first one is to read a paranormal or magical realism book. I'm going to pick up From the Shadow Grave by Andy C. Buchanan since it was on my TBR for this month anyway. It's super short. It's about this girl trying to solve what happened with this body that was discovered in the Mount Victoria Tunnel down in Wellington. So it's written by a New Zealand author, set in New Zealand, which I'm from New Zealand, so I like supporting New Zealand authors. And I know that Andy's a really great author, so I'm excited to read this. I should be starting this now, but I'm a little bit late. But it's really short. It's only 100 pages, so I should be able to complete that pretty quickly. As well, the other prompt of the first 2 was a chance card. So I've made myself some really ugly chance cards and put some books on the back of them. Some that I want to read, some of them, like, I want to read all of them, but some that I'm less excited about and some that I'm more excited about. So right now we're going to shuffle them up because I think I'm going to try and do all 8 prompts, you know? I don't know if I'll be able to actually do that, but we'll try. Why not? So, which one should we pick? I'm going to go for this one. You can probably see what it is. What does it say? The Sandman Volume 3. So I have been reading the Sandman graphic novels by Neil Gaiman. I haven't really been enjoying them that much, but I do kind of want to continue it to see whether he actually manages to do something good with the Sandman character, who I think is really interesting because he's like a god of dreams. But so far, the narrative of the stories has been pretty shaky. There's always lots of stuff that I don't really care about in there. But there is a thread that I like, so I'm hoping that as the series goes on, we'll get more and more of that. I'm not sure if we will, but I can still be hopeful. So I have that on my iPad, wherever the hell my iPad is, because I have that through the library on my Libby app. So those are going to be my main 2 reads for today, because it's midday here in New Zealand now. Well, it's 11:05 now, so 5 minutes into the readathon and I've read nothing. But the next prompts aren't announced until later. So really I should be able to start something else before the next prompts are announced. Now, if you're still reading the book when the next prompts are announced, you're allowed to count that book for those prompts. So I'll have to make a plan and see what we can do, because I think I can definitely get through this and Sandman probably in the next few hours, to be honest. So I'm going to go and do that. Hi, so it's now 1 o'clock and I'm about halfway through this. I probably should be further, but I was letting myself get distracted and doing a few other things. I had lunch, but I'm really enjoying this. It's quite strange, like it's written in second person, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I think it's done really well. So it's divided into 4 parts, and the first part is basically telling the story of this girl in the 30s and how she became a ghost. It's quite traumatic. There's like probably trigger warnings for suicidal thoughts, depression, domestic abuse, lots of horrible things. And then she's a ghost, and in the second part she meets this girl named Araha Brooke, who's like a paranormal superhero, I guess. I would love to get more of her story. The second part was very like fast-paced, like it's skipping over a lot of things, which I don't know that I enjoyed as much. Like I wish it would get into a bit more depth, but it's still told in such a beautiful way. It kind of enhances all the tragic parts of the story, so I'm really enjoying it, and I expect to get through the last part pretty quickly. Okay, so I have finished From a Shadow Grave, and I have to say the 3rd and 4th part, things got really strange. There was some twisty time stuff, and it was kind of playing with the idea that ghost stories have lots of different versions of them. I think I need to think more about the ending, but I still really enjoyed it. I just think it kind of so beautifully describes how difficult life can be, but also how beautiful it can be. It was a strange story, but I really loved it. So I recommend that, and that means that I have read the book for paranormal magical realism, so that's 1 of 8 books down. I've just found my iPad and it is struggling to download Sandman Volume 3. My iPad is quite old and so it struggles with a lot of things, but it's getting there, so I'm going to read that and then I will let you know what I thought of it. So I finished Sandman Volume 3 and I might have also had a nap. It's now 5 o'clock, so I've got 6 hours until the next prompts are announced, and I've finished the 2 prompts that are announced so far. I think what I might do is start An Unkindness of Ghosts. Start An Unkindness of Ghosts, which I have the audiobook for. It's a 12-hour audiobook. I have actually already started Fool's Fate, which is the 3rd book in the 20-man trilogy, which is part of the realm of the Elderlings, but that's a 30-hour audiobook, so I think that's a bit much for a 48-hour readathon. So instead, if I start An Unkindness of Ghosts and I don't finish it before the next prompts are announced, then if it happens to fit with some of those prompts, which I haven't really looked into the prompts on Becca's Bookopoly board, so who knows if that will work out, but I think I mean, this is on my TBR anyway, so if it doesn't fit, then at least I'll have read something that is hopefully good. Oh, I should tell you what I thought about Sandman. So, there were 4 comics. What happened in the first one again? Wow, I've forgotten already. Let me check the, Oh yeah, so the first one was about this author who has the muse Calliope, I think that's how you say it, kept captive and is using that to come up with amazing ideas. It was okay. The second one had cats in it and it was amazing, and I love cats. And it was about the cats dreaming a different world. It was cool. I liked it a lot. Quite dark. Then the third one was another Shakespeare one. There was a Shakespeare one in the last volume too, and I just don't care. It was about Shakespeare putting on a play of Midsummer Night's Dream for the God of Dreams and also all the fairies who are actually characters in Midsummer Night's Dream. So, I mean, if you like Shakespeare, it's probably cool. I found it quite boring. And the last one, I think, is related to a comic book character from another comic book, so a lot of that I think went over my head as well. It was okay though, but again, overall, it's just an okay comic book series. I think I'll still continue because the cat one made it worth it. So, we are 2 minutes away, I think, from the next prompts being dropped for Becca's Bookopoly, but I thought I would update you. So I listened to a lot of An Unkindness of Ghosts. I think I'm like 55% through, which is like 6.5 hours. And once I listened to that much, I was like, that's enough. I was starting to do that thing where you stop listening to audiobooks when you listen to them for too long. So I'm going to stop for now and pick it up later, probably when I can relate it into a prompt. But it is really interesting. It's like this big spaceship, and I think they've been on it for generations, so the characters we're following don't really know what life outside of that spaceship is like. Also, all the floors are very segregated, and the people at the top floors are like the elite upper class, and the people in the bottom floors, which we're following, are treated like shit. But we're following this one girl who's really into science and medicine, and they're starting to find out that maybe something's wrong with the ship, and maybe it's related to a couple of people who've been sick, so it's quite interesting. I still feel like after listening to half of it that I don't entirely understand how things work on this spaceship, and it's much more focused on the relationships rather than the mystery, which I'm more interested in. But still, I am enjoying it. I have also started Guardians of the Dead because I decided even if I can't match it up to a prompt, I still want to read this for my TBR, so I'll start it and we'll see. I don't know much about this other than the fact that it's got Maori mythology in it. I've read the first chapter and all I've got from that pretty much is that it's set at a boarding school. We're following this girl and there's a couple of guys that she's had strange conversations with. I guess we'll find out more from there, but I can see that Becca has put up her prompts, so let's see what we've got.
2019 board roll number 2. 6. A book that is culturally diverse.
Culturally diverse. I can do that. Okay. What's the other prompt?
2020 board roll number 2. 3. Viewer recommends.
Viewer recommends. How's that gonna work? Book recommended by your audience. If you do not have an audience, you could also do the following: friend recommendation, Twitter recommendation, Instagram recommendation, booktuber recommendation. Basically any book you've been told good things about. I could potentially use one book for both of these prompts. Let me grab it. So, one of the books that I had in my pile for reading this readathon is Raised by Kai Sanbi? Probably saying that wrong. So this is a manga that I believe has time travel elements. Alyssa at Alyssa's Shelves read it and she recommended it. She really liked it. It's got time travel stuff, so she thought I would like it as well. I know she watches my videos sometimes, so she counts as a viewer. So I think maybe I will read this, and it's a manga, so it should be quick. Also, it's a manga written by a Japanese person. I assume he's Japanese. Yeah, I can see. This is all like Japanese characters, so that counts as culturally diverse. So that will cover both the prompts. So I will probably pick this up in the morning because it's like 11 o'clock now and I like to go to bed about now. So I'm going to take this to bed and see how much I can read before I fall asleep. And then in the morning, we'll try to finish this before the next prompts come out. That's the plan. Good morning! So it is 9 o'clock. I've got a couple of hours until the next prompt is announced. Last night I only read about 50 pages of this and I think I kind of expected it to be a bit better, but I'm not that far in. It is actually like blurbed by Libre on the front. I don't necessarily like Libre, so I guess that shouldn't have been counted as a good sign. But it does have Holly Black on the back as well. Anyway, I guess the things that I find funny is there's like a serial killer on the loose, and that's weird because this is set in Christchurch in New Zealand and we don't really have serial killers. Like most of the time when someone is a murderer, they get caught straight away. I looked up a list of like New Zealand serial killers and there were like 3 and most of them were just like they killed someone related to their life and their family and then a bit later they killed someone else in a somewhat related series of events. So not really serial killers in the way that this is treating them. I feel like that's just quite Americanized, giving them a name like the Eye Slasher. Also, this is set in Christchurch and all the murders have happened in the North Island, but they're acting like there's a serious possibility that the Eye Slasher might turn up in Christchurch. Like, do you know how far away Christchurch is from the North Island? It's weird, although I'm sure they are gonna turn up because there's been too many mentions of it for it to not be a serious part of the plot. I will say also there is a bit where she is describing this Asian girl and she says it might be racist to describe her as like a porcelain doll, but she's like a porcelain doll. You know what? If it's racist, you don't need to say any of that. You can just say she had incredibly white, clear skin. Whatever it is that you're trying to say by saying that, just say that. Don't be racist. So, I don't know. I'll keep reading it, but not right now. Right now, I am going to pick this up, although I'm probably going to get up and walk around the house to get some steps, because even though the sun has just turned itself on full, I suspect it's going to rain a lot today, so I need to get my steps inside. Also, I'm reading all day, so I don't have time to go out and get any exercise, so it's exercise in the house while reading. I'll try and read this. I also decided that I'm going to use this for the viewer recommends prompt, and then I'm going to use the audiobook, which I don't have, An Unkindness of Ghosts. I'll use that for culturally diverse, because this, even though it's like culturally diverse in that it's different from me, it's not probably culturally diverse within itself, if you know what I mean. Whereas An Unkindness of Ghosts, because every floor is kind of a different culture, and like the bottom floors you can tell are much more inspired by black culture and the upper floors are white privilege culture, so, and then kind of everything in between. So I think that's more culturally diverse, as well as the main characters being somewhat different from me. I mean, they live in space, so very different from me. Anyway, I better get to this reading. What are you doing? Huh? You don't belong in this house. Okay, so I am trapped in my lounge because I have this beautiful cat visiting me, and that means I can't close my side door, which means I have to be out here in case murderers try to sneak in or something. We are a few minutes away from the next prompts being announced. I am about halfway through this. I would have been further, but this pussycat has been distracting me. I'm really enjoying this though. It's really weird. He has this like ability, which he calls revival, where when something bad is going to happen, he will start repeating like the 5 minutes before it, and so then he has to try to figure out what the bad thing is that's going to happen and then change something to stop it from happening. And like this is an ability that he's had for ages, and it happens to him all the time, and like it doesn't always work out well for him. Sometimes he saves someone else, but he ends up with something horrible happening to him. So that happens a few times, but then halfway through something very extreme just happened, and then things are very different. So it's pretty exciting. I always like twisty time stuff, and I think it's going to get more and more twisty from here. I do think maybe people who like orange would like this. Anyway, we got to wait. We've got to wait, Nala, for the next prompt to be announced. What do you think? This is Nala, I'm pretty sure. She doesn't have a name on her collar at the moment, but we've seen a name on her collar before. She's my new best friend. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the next prompt must be imminent. Here it is, third roll.
2019 board roll number 3. 3. A mystery or a thriller.
Ooh.
2020 board roll number 3. 10. A book you've been gifted.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about those prompts. Hang on. Okay, so even though I think I might struggle timing wise, I think I'm going to try and read Monday's Not Coming as the mystery or thriller, because it's a mystery about this girl. I think one girl goes away on holiday, and when she comes back, her best friend Monday is missing, and everyone's just pretending like it's not a problem. That's all I know about it, and also that some people said it was good. So I want to read that. Also, the other one was for gifted, so I think for that I would read this one. This is How You Lose the Time War, although it's kind of long for rushing through it, but maybe I can do it. This one is like a time travel thing where there's two women from opposing factions trying to change the past in order to get the future they want, and then they're writing letters to each other and eventually falling in love. I don't know, I'm excited to read it, so I will try to fit that in today. My concern as well is that I've realized since the last prompts will come out at 11 o'clock at night, either I'm going to have to stay up all night reading, or I need to try and get some other books like almost finished. I need to have a look at the boards probably and see what potentially might come up. Try and do some advanced planning. Okay, so I just finished An Unkindness of Ghosts, and I don't know. I feel like there were some really interesting ideas in there, but overall, most of the time, I just feel like I didn't understand what it was trying to do. Like, it didn't really focus on the science fiction plot, so then you think, well, was it about the characters? But the characters didn't really get developed that well either. Mostly there was just lots of horrible things happening to them, but those horrible things didn't really seem to have a point other than just being horrible. And I guess maybe if you just look at it as like trying to help people understand different gender perspectives and what it's like to be really horribly oppressed, then maybe, but I don't know that I got that out of it either. And I think I just didn't like the writing style. I don't know. Overall, I think that was a bit of a disappointment for me, which is a shame. Anyway, right now I am gonna read some of this. I'll probably like alternate between reading this and listening to Monday's Not Coming when I do some housey things, I guess. I did say goodbye to my neighbor cat. She went out because there were some birds fighting outside, and then 5 minutes later she was waiting to come back in again. I haven't let her back in because I think she should go home. And also I need to focus on my reading. I'm so tired. I really just want to go to sleep, which is not promising given that there's still 2 more prompts to go. It is 10:15, so we'll see what the next prompts are that are announced. I do still have about 2.5 hours of Monday's Not Coming left, although I'm listening to it on 2.2 speed, so I guess I've got about an hour more of actually listening to it. It's alright, but it's like very young YA, and I'm really confused about why she keeps worrying about people finding out about her dyslexia when her friend is missing. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And like, all the adults that she's saying, hey, my friend is missing, and they have genuine concerns about this friend and what her family might be doing, and they don't do anything. It's quite annoying, to be honest. And I hope not realistic, but you never know. This book, on the other hand, I just finished it, and I really, really loved it. Like, so much. I can see why a lot of people wouldn't like it, because the world building is completely like it's there, it's beautiful, but it doesn't, there's no concreteness to it. So I imagine that would really annoy some people, but for me, I don't really care. That's not the point of it. And like, what is there is just so beautiful that I love it. And then these two people on opposite sides falling in love, and like the way that they're so different but so beautifully described, and the way they write to each other, and then the way things happen at the end is just like heartbreaking. I really loved it. There were some lines that were just beautiful, and I will definitely be rereading this at some point, because also it's so short. I really love this. I think people who like The Night Circus might like this, because it's the same kind of thing. Like, it's a war that's sort of magical in some ways, even though it's science in this, but it's like lyrical science, so it's not concrete. But also, as well as this magical war, you've got people on opposite sides falling in love, same as The Night Circus. And it's all like beautifully described, but so ambiguous as what's happening, which again, that's why a lot of people will also have not enjoyed this. But I just enjoyed my reading experience of this so much. Okay, so I'm gonna go and try and finish off, well, I won't be able to finish it off, but I'll listen to as much of Monday's Not Coming as I can before the next prompts are announced, and then we'll work out what we're gonna do about the next two prompts. Hopefully I can somehow complete them with some really short reads, because I just want to go to bed. Okay, so I think the final rolls will be coming up very soon. Yes, here they are. Let's see what we've got.
2019 board roll number 4. 6. A young adult fantasy.
Oh, young adult fantasy is a problem. Okay, what's the other one?
2020 board roll number 4. 11. A contemporary or a romance.
Oh. I mean, technically, Monday's Not Coming could count for the contemporary as well, because I still haven't quite finished it. I don't think anything else, I mean, I could, no, I could, nothing else on my list is contemporary. And then a YA fantasy would be Guardians of the Dead, right? Which I've left in my bedroom. So I guess I will finish off Monday's Not Coming, and that will count for my mystery as well as my contemporary, and then I will read Guardians of the Dead. I'm worried about finding enough time to read Guardians of the Dead, because it was like 350-ish pages, and I've read 50, so I've got 300 to go, which at my reading speed is about 6 hours. And yes, we have 12 hours left, but I wanted some sleep in there. I wanted more than 6 hours sleep. And I still have more of Monday's Not Coming to listen to, like in half an hour more. Also, the ending, like what's happening now is weird, because I feel like we already had the big ending of the book, and like, I'm not sure that I liked it. I think if you've never read a twist like that before, then you would think it's very creative, but once you've read that twist before, any other time you read it, you're like, oh yeah, this again. But maybe something else will happen in this last hour of the audiobook. I'm gonna go and finish this, and we'll see if I come up with a better idea other than having to finish Guardians of the Dead. Good morning. I am awake, but I'm not that happy about being awake. It's 7 AM. I did wake up at 6 AM and I've read sort of probably for half an hour. I'm up to page 160, which this is a 340 page book. So maths, 180 pages to read in the next 4 hours. Probably quite tight for me at my reading pace, but we're gonna try. We just got introduced to the magic. It's kind of based on this Maori mythology about these fairy people that have like red hair. It's interesting because there was a documentary recently about this family that actually claimed to be descendants of those fairy people, like the people in this book are, and it was really controversial and some people were really angry about it. So I don't know, that's weird. Anyway, I'm gonna read a bit more before I have some breakfast and stuff, and then I'll let you know how we're going. Okay, so I just finished Guardian of the Dead and it is 9:47, so I've still got an hour and a bit till the readathon is finished. I will say for this, like, it was fine. I just feel like I really struggled to find YA fantasies that I can really relate to, just because I'm older and I like different things than what this is. There were some good bits, but I found it really weird because it takes so long to get into the magic, and then suddenly there's just so much of it going on, and like it starts out explaining things very carefully and then it doesn't really explain anything after that, and I'm not sure I was satisfied with the ending. I don't know, it was fine. It was enjoyable, but probably wasn't what I expected. I kind of expected something more dark from the cover of this, where it's not really ever dark. Another thing that I didn't really mention is that every chapter is like a New Zealand song title, so that was kind of cool, but something that probably non-New Zealanders wouldn't pick up on. But I will say, like, in the front, Libba Bray said, creepy, funny, sexy, smart. I wouldn't probably describe it as any of those, but it was fun enough. It was fun. Anyway, I realized that since I've got an hour and a bit left, I should try and find a really short contemporary so that then I can have read 8 books during the readathon, 1 for each of the prompts. I won't have to double up on Monday's Not Coming. So I've downloaded, it keeps going sideways and I don't want it sideways. Oh, that's not better, but I'm trying to read Giant Days, which is relatively short. It says 116 pages, so I will read that and then we'll finish the readathon. I'm tired. I had about 4 hours sleep last night though, so that should be totally fine, right? Anyway, I finished Giant Days. It was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think I might continue the series. It's just these girls at university doing university things, but it's done in like a really fun way, and I like the characters a lot. I wasn't sure in the beginning, but that was an hour ago, and now I love them. So, I worked out, I read 629 pages in normal books. I read 660 pages of graphic novel type things, and I read about 792 pages in audiobook form. So you add that all together and you get 2,081 pages, which is pretty good for 48 hours and like a fair amount of sleep. And also I read a book for all of the 8 prompts, so that's pretty impressive. I also managed to read a few books from my July TBR, so I think I'm in a much better position for the rest of July as well. So this was a pretty good readathon. I think, I mean, the most favorite things I read were probably these 3, with this one being my most favorite. You probably could tell that. Oh, and all 3 of these had like some degree of time travel elements in them. Can you tell I like time travel? Anyway, I am gonna go and figure out what I'm doing with my life. Am I gonna have a nap? Probably at some point today. So let me know if you did the Bookopoly. How did you do? Or if you've read any of the books that I read in the last 48 hours. I would also love to talk with you about those down in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you're doing well, reading some good books, and I will see you next time.